Welcome back to What Matters This Week. I'm Lauren Maloney. Joining me now is the Bishop from the Burlington Catholic Diocese, Bishop Christopher Coyne. I appreciate you being here with us.
Glad to be here.
Let's talk about first, I know there's a lot to talk about. You've been in the news, the diocese, the Catholic Church has been in the news a lot in the past few months regarding the St. Joseph's Orphanage article that appeared in BuzzFeed. The orphanage was around from 1854 to 1974. Was the article a total surprise to you? Were there some allegations that you had been familiar with?
The reporter called us back in early July and was looking for some more information and was telling us that this article was going to come out. And we gave them the information that they needed. When they asked direct questions, we tried to help them, but we also explained that, this is 1974, it's already been investigated, 92, 93. So when it came out, there weren't a lot of surprises because a lot of it had already been covered back in 92, 93 by one of the local newspapers. But there was some more details that came out in terms of, validation of the fact that, of what happened, and they were able to get in contact with some people that hadn't spoken publicly before. So I think it was more the details of the allegations and there wasn't really a lot of new allegations. But go ahead.
The fact, though, Bishop, that there were some allegations that to the extent nuns were killing children. Yeah. Was that something that was disheartening and shocking to you?
Well, I felt, and I still do. I feel badly for the sisters. These are women who, they came from homes and they weren't trained to be taking care of kids in orphanages, and they took them in freely. They never asked for money, and all these things. Yes, there were children that were abused and beaten and other things, but to level a crime like that upon them, I think is just really scandalous. It was investigated back in 92, 93. Everybody listened to the person's claim. They went back. There was no missing children. There were no bodies. It was just one of those things at the end of the day that I think you really have to say there's no evidence whatsoever that murders took place in that building, which is a sad thing that I even have to say that. But there were children who were abused, and there were children who were abused by caregivers, and also some were abused by priests, and that's a known fact.
What about the national attention that Burlington received because of it?
Yeah, I think a lot of it came out because there was a significant story about a horrible situation involving abuses in orphanages in Ireland, Catholic Ireland. And so when the reporter from Australia was looking, she was seeing, well, I wonder if there's anything here in the United States. So yeah, when the story did come out, it was, it was salacious. It had nuns murdering kids. It had, children being forced to look at burned bodies. Just all these stories that just unfortunately draws people's attention. But when you start diving down deeper into the article, you realize that a lot of this is just allegations that were never proven and can't be proven.
When we talk about the task force that was formed that really wants to kind of sort everything through correctly with the mayor, with the Attorney General, T.J. Donovan, where is the process of the task force now, I guess? Are we still collecting information?
Yeah, I can't speak for the task force. I can only say that they have been in and out of our building in South Burlington, Chancery Building, numerous times. It's been whole days in there. And they've asked for files. We've allowed them access to the original copies. They've asked for copies of files. Some of the files we're not quite sure whether we can give them. Adoption records, which are probated. And, the birth parents don't want their names known, and legally we can't give those out. So it's So it's those kinds of things that gets a little bit dicey, because they're looking for it, and we look like we're not willing to cooperate. But we just say we can't give it to you legally. You have to go to a judge and get it if you're going to do that. But I think it's going along well. I think our people have been very cooperative. I think they're getting the information that they need. I hope they come to a conclusion with the task force and find, yes, they will rehash the story in BuzzFeed and many of the things that happened that were horrible. And we'll continue to, the church, especially here in Vermont, will continue to own it and just to continue to do everything that we can. I'm always willing to listen to survivors of abuse.
And that's my next question. Have more people, parishioners, maybe non-parishioners, come to talk to you because of this? Is there been more of a need for just a conversation?
Yep. No, there have been since the BuzzFeed story broke and then the national stories broke. I've seen a lot more people in the office. Usually it's about one a week. Sometimes it's 2 a week. So I've driven to places to meet with victims, survivors. and I'll continue to do so. If our victim coordinator does a really great job, he sits down, he talks to them, he says, would you like to meet with the bishop? And some say no, some say I'd like to. They can bring their family in, and I always just listen to them and say, what do you need? How can I help you? What do you need me to do here?
Okay.
So it's a very moving process when you listen to their stories.
Let's talk about the Promise to Protect website. It was launched basically just to put a lot of resources out there, not necessarily connected to the orphanage instance.
Well, you know, I was the chair of the communications committee for the United States Conference of Bishops up until my term ended just recently. And we had done a survey back in September of Catholics in the parishes. These are Catholics who go to Mass. And we asked them, 600 of them nationally, a number of questions. And we asked them questions like, do you think that children are still being abused by priests in parishes? And they said, you know, like more than 50% said yes. Do you think that the church has done anything? And like 50% said, not really, not enough, not enough. So, you know, for the past 16 years, the number of allegations involving abuse of minors by children, by clergy, has just plummeted. You know, here in Vermont, we haven't had a single one, you know, that was found to be substantial. We had one that was an allegation was made, was found not to be substantial in 16 years. And you think about any kind of caregiving community would say that's, one is too many, but to say, you know, they really clean up their acts. So we're dealing with a lack of knowledge, that people don't really know what we've done and where we are. So that's what the Promise to Protect website is, you know. Here's all the facts, here's what we're doing. If you want to talk to somebody, here's the number you call, here's how to reach us. You know, we just want to put it all in one place so people can find the information that they need.
And what's the response you've heard back on that in particular?
It's been very, very positive. People are very appreciative. For example, when we waived the non-disclosure agreement with the victims of the orphanage, and they needed to know how to, you know, see the statement from me, we could say it's on the Promise to Protect website. Just go, pull it down. There it is, right there. You can see exactly what I said and what I'm allowing you, you know, without any legal ramifications or anything like that. So we wanted it to be, before, you know, you had to kind of look all over the website to find these things, or all over our social media to find these things. Now you know, anything to do with that, you go to Promise to Protect. There it is.
Now, when it comes to releasing the names of priests or clergy members that have connected to any allegations, you said you were going to release those names.
Right now,
how close are we?
Well, I don't know, because right now I have 7 laymen and 3 women and 4 men who are looking at all of the files that have a substantial allegation against.
How far back are we going?
1960.
Okay.
And if they feel they need to go back further, then we'll do it. But they're looking through all those files, and they're looking at the hard copies. We said, do you want us to just give you a summary? You want us to just pull the pages out? And they said, no, we'll go through so they're flipping through sheets of class ranks and grades, and that's what they're doing. So there's 7 of them, and they're each reading every file. So it's going to take time, because they're lay volunteers. Some of them are professionals when it comes to these matters. Some of them are just, you know, parents. So I think I asked them to kind of have it done maybe by the end of this year, that we could kind of wrap up looking at the files. But again, I want them to do a thorough job, and then they're going to give a report, and I'm going to receive the report. It's going to be, you know, or their report to me. I'm not going to write it.
Okay, and then you'll release those names?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, I will. Yep.
So the first quarter, potentially, of 2019?
I would hope so. I would really hope so. I mean, we said we'd do it, and I want people to get those names. I don't think there's too many surprises there. They're names that have been out there before. There may be a few that people weren't aware of, but that's part of the reason why we're doing it, because you might have someone who might say, oh my God, I thought I was the only one that this guy ever did anything to, and now I see he's listed, and they might come forward and say, you know, yeah, he did it to me too. You know?
Bishop, anybody who's watching that's listening to the conversation today, any information and any words that you want to give people when it comes to, you know, unfortunately, the current headlines?
I would say that, you know, back in November when I was at the meeting with all the bishops and things did not go well and it didn't look like we were coming out with anything, when I came back I was committed to do everything that I could here with my staff and my priests to do what needed to be done. And so we basically implemented all the things that we wanted to do nationally here. Full transparency, access to files, cooperation with law enforcement. Anytime we receive an allegation, we turn it over to DCF or to state police, whatever. We don't investigate. All those things, and just continue to say, here I am, I want to be listened to you, I want to apologize, whatever I need to do, you know, whatever we can do to help. And I think the most important thing is when survivors come to see us, we say, we believe you. Because for years, people didn't believe them when they told their stories. Now we say, we believe you.
Bishop, if we can, let's change gears a little bit.
Sure.
The St. Joseph's Cathedral Youth Warming Shelter has been open for a few weeks. We know the end of November was record-setting cold almost. We got a lot of snow early on, so I imagine that was in use a lot and a lot more often than probably in the time frame that people would normally be there.
Yeah, it's a 10-bed shelter, and it's for young people between the ages of 18 and 25 who don't feel safe with some of the other shelters because of just the older folks there are a little
Sure.
bit more aggressive. So they're there. It's in conjunction with Spectrum Youth Services. They come in at night, they might get a snack, and they sleep, and then in the morning, the guy I live with, Father Lance Hollow, goes over on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and cooks them a hot breakfast. And then there are others who are coming in now to do that. So we have parishioners who give water. I wish we could have more space, but we're only allowed legally to take in 10 beds, and
Okay.
that's what we do.
Has it been busy so far?
Oh yeah, no, it's been busy. It's been busy, and we'll continue to be busy because it's a good space. Sometimes they don't want to go in because they want to continue to be entertained, if so to speak. Party. They want to party. So we don't allow anything in the building. But that's something you kind of say, come on in. No, I'm going to stay outside. I want to party. You say, okay, but you can come in anytime you want. So.
Okay. All right, let's talk Christmas Eve Mass. We've got the
Yeah.
holidays are coming up, so
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, of course, and what's going on in the church?
Well, what I would say, I'd invite everybody who's here in Chittenden County and Essex and other places that you get to your 4 o'clock Christmas Vigil Mass and it's packed. You can't get in. You got to get there at 3. We got an 1,100 seat cathedral downtown. That if the weather's good, you can park your car, walk to the church, get in there. Last year we probably had about 900 people. We had a great celebration. So I just invite them to come down and celebrate the Christmas with me. I'll give them a great homily, not too long.
Okay. Appreciate the promise. Bishop, thank you very much
You're
for coming
welcome.
on.
You're welcome.
Thanks. We'll be right back on What Matters This Week.